Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of Broke Up, Not Broken. If you're going through a divorce, don't worry, you're not alone. This is your one-stop shop for mastering your life and your finances throughout the entire process. In today's episode, we're joined by Melanie Yates. Melanie has mastered how to neutralize the pain and emotions that keep us stuck or hinder us from moving forward into change. For over a decade, she's helped coach hundreds of people, helping them turn their lives from misery to happiness through one-on-one coaching, seminars, and her videos. She doesn't just talk the talk, though. She walks the talk. After decades of self-defeating behavior, she found the power within to awaken to spiritual truths, leading her to powerful life lessons. I want to learn all about that. That's going to be the first questions I'm going to ask you. So get ready. Because of her struggles, she learned tips and tools to manage her emotions and create a joyous life. She now shares these truths with others living their lives in pain and numbness who don't realize that love and happiness are within reach. She is sure to leave you feeling inspired and empowered. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by your divorce, or if you're in your current station of life, please don't be. Melanie is here to help us break it down so you can feel confident and prepared by creating a clear picture of not only your financial life, but your personal life and your mindset, the mindset challenges that you're facing. So grab a cup of coffee or your beverage of choice, buckle up, and let's get you empowered. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you guys today because I know that you don't have to do this alone. So if you're going through a divorce, it's natural for us to want to recoil and isolate and pretend like, I got this, everything's fine. But the truth is, you don't got this. Things are not fine. You wouldn't be going through a divorce if everything was fine. And so even if it's a good thing, even if you're like, good riddance, I'm so happy about it. Don't say that everybody has so many different concepts of what it means to go through divorce. I know for a fact that it's worse if you try to do it by yourself. And it's just the natural man inside of us wants to hide and pretend like everything's fine. And so that actually, the natural default is to isolate, but don't do that. Don't do that. You don't have to do it alone. And you're not alone. That's just the thing. I mean, the statistics are that 1 in 2 people get divorced. So, you're not alone. And so if you don't hear anything today, just know that we're in this together. Jamie's been divorced. I've been divorced. It's like, it doesn't have to be this like mistake or this secret that I have to hide in some kind under a rock somewhere. We want to shine light on it and we want to talk about it so we don't have to be bitter about it. We want to discuss all those parts that most of us don't want to talk about and we try to hide it, but I'm here to tell you it ain't worth hiding. Let's shine some light on it. Let's heal and move forward, and so that you can still enjoy your life even if it seems like you can't. I want to give you the hope today that you can.
Yes. Where were you 7 years ago, Melanie, when I needed you? Where were you? That was the first mistake that I made when I went through my divorce. And I had this conversation with somebody recently. When I was going through my divorce in 2017, I had no idea people like you existed. The Facebook groups and I'm a big fan of therapists, so I leverage a therapist to help me navigate some of the emotional aspects of things. But there are divorce coaches out there. There, the Facebook groups, all the stuff that's out there, all these amazing resources. And I much like you described, became a hermit. And I didn't share, I really didn't share anything that was going on with my family because I didn't want them to worry. I didn't want my family's 3,000 miles away. I didn't want my mother, God bless her, to be worrying about her little baby boy, who's not a baby anymore, by the way. I'll be 47 this year. But, I don't want my family worrying about it. I want them to get involved. I just want them to keep them out of it and just focus on, and looking back, had I been a little more open to letting people in, man, I would have had a much different experience.
Absolutely. And I think one of the first things to really take a look at is self-care during a divorce, because I don't know about you, but for me, divorce is a death of a dream. So all those fairy tale books that I read when I was little that said happily ever after, like no one talks about divorce. When you get married, like your whole life as a girl, you're like thinking of like the dress and the party and the ring and blah, blah, blah. And no one's anticipating divorce. No one thinks that, when I grow up, I want to be divorced. No one talks about that. And it's just interesting to not talk about it, because if 1 in 2 people are getting divorced, it seems like we should talk more about that. And it's clear that we don't really have very good relationship skills if all of America gets divorced at that kind of statistic. Okay. So there's something to that as well, but that's probably for another show. So I want to embrace where we're all at right now. And that means that these feelings that come up are signals, and they're trying to tell us something. And so when we feel sad or we feel angry, there's, we were talking about the financial situation where you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. There's so much unknown. And so that can bring up anxiety, it can bring up shock, it can bring up anger, depression. There's all these emotions that are being stirred, and you're probably feeling more than one. And our brain is like, well, it's hard to even articulate how much emotion gets stirred up and triggers, right? And so we want to, just like if anybody close to you died, there is a grieving cycle. And so I know that a divorce, if I look at it like a death. There is a grieving process. There's the grief cycle of denial, pain, anger, depression. You have to go through all of it. And it doesn't necessarily mean it goes in order. It can go back and forth. It can go more than once. It's our mind's way of trying to move forward. So you have to feel all these things. It's part of it. It's all part of it. And if you've had someone die in your life, then like if my friend had someone really important to them die, I would be encouraging them to like take time off work, right? This is what we do when someone dies. We have like, you take time for yourself to heal. Well, I feel like you need that when you're getting divorced. And the problem is, some of us, it takes a long time to get divorced. It's not like, oh, just sign the paper. It's like this long, drawn out thing that's never going to end, or it feels like it's never going to end. Was it like that for you, Jamie?
In the state of California, as you know, you're in California with me. There's a 6-month cooling off period, which feels like the longest 6 months in the history of 6 months. It took forever. Mine was about a year and a half long process. What really changed and accelerated the process for us was, I was no longer responsible for covering the attorney fees. And as soon as that happened, it was like, how fast can we get this over with? Because if she had her way and I was still paying those expenses, we probably still wouldn't be divorced. She'd probably find a way to drag it on even longer. But that's a story for another day. Talk about stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and my attorney, I actually asked, why does it take so long to get divorced? And he said, you're not done hurting each other.
Yeah, powerful.
I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Because you want to punish the other person that you can't let go. And so it's just like, that's why you fight over who's going to get the dog, who's going to get the coffee table, who's going to get this. Like, talk about finances, like trying to, what's fair? Life really isn't fair. And so when he said the reason it takes so long is because you're not done hurting each other, that really, it like sunk down. I was like, wow. And I didn't want to be the one that was still trying to hurt the other person or make that person pay. but
I
it
see
doesn't matter what side of the fence you
it.
are on that. It's okay. I think that that's part of the grieving process as well. It's like, it's natural to blame the other person. So
Yeah, I see it firsthand day in and day out. People fighting, spending $10,000 to fight over $200 China. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so in your work, in the line of work that you do, you've crafted the emotional freedom technique, right? Like, so you use this emotional freedom technique. I need to know more about this. I'm a big fan of meditation and mindfulness. I suck at it, but I try to get better at it every day. I try to spend time, with my breathing and the whole thing. But tell me more about this, because these are all tips and tricks that I could have used, and I know our listeners can use to get through some of the stressful situations that they're in.
absolutely. So meditation is a way for us to, is a skill for us to just start practicing calming ourselves, because we need to calm the central nervous system. And so tapping, EFT, emotion freedom technique, AKA known as tapping, is using Eastern medicine, the meridians, just like how acupuncture uses an energy system, they call it meridians. It's kind of like our Western way of looking at blood flow, because the Western medicine knows that there's circulation of our blood from our heart through the arteries into the veins, and then the veins bring the blood back to the heart. So there's this circulation going on inside of our bodies. Well, Eastern medicine looks at an energy flow system, and they call it meridians. And it's kind of like what we might call, chi, or I don't know, charisma, or there's auras, or, you feel when you walk into a room, there's a sense that you feel something. There's there's a vibration of energy in every room. And when you meet people, there's an energy or vibration that each of us are at, that we provide, that we put off. And so basically what EFT is doing is it is shifting energy, the energy flow in our body. And so when I think of a like really intense feeling, what it's doing is it's trying to shift the feeling. And what happens is, so many times we take the facts, like, why I want to get a divorce, and then the emotions. And what happens is it's like a ball of yarn, and they're like clashed together, and they're all mixed up and entangled, right? It's like a big mess. And so what I like about EFT is what we need to figure out, and what I do a lot with my clients in coaching, is this is just one tool. EFT is one tool. Meditation is a tool. Journaling is a tool. Question patterning is a tool. What we're trying to do is separate the facts from the lies, including the ones my mind tells me, right? And we need to release the emotions that are intertwined with the information. So what we're doing is we're trying to pull apart the facts and the emotion so I can release the emotion. So EFT is tapping on these meridians, and anyone can, I'm just kind of visually showing you where some of these meridians are. But if you can't see me and you're listening to the recording, if you look up on Google EFT tapping points, you'll see what we're talking about. And all you do is you talk and tap. And the cool thing about EFT is that you can't hurt yourself. You can't, sometimes, it can't hurt. So I'm going to say, it can't screw you up, psychologically. And, it might not work, but most of the time, the reason why people, if they didn't do it by the book, let's say, and I don't even believe that, because if you tap on these areas and listen to a script there's just millions of them out there, and you are consistent, and the way we change neural pathways in our brain is repetition. So basically when people don't get a result, it most things with goals, whatever direction you're going, it's because you're not consistent. And so that's why it's cool to have a coach, because you're accountable to that coach, and then we track, okay, how consistent are we being to get the result you're looking for? And what I've found is that's usually all it is being consistent, to being repetitive, because we have to change the neural pathways. So that's what tapping is. It basically is releasing an emotion and shifting the energy. And it's using that Eastern way of thinking about energy to shift it by tapping on the meridians. Acupuncture puts a needle in the meridian to shift energy. I don't know, acupuncture is pretty amazing. And you don't have to even know how it works. It's just, if you do it, you'll see that it can move, because we get blocked, right? Like when you're really pissed off, it's like your emotion is controlling you. And so this is a way to just kind of like let some steam off. And it's easy to measure because you rate the intensity before you start and after. I clear PTSD with this. I clear phobias with this. I clear crisis with this. I clear cravings, like food cravings, phobias, PTSD, events that are you don't want to talk about. EFT has a way of taking away the intense emotion that's tangled with the facts, so that you clear away the emotion, so you just see the facts. I can't make you not remember what happened, but you can take away the trigger. And so, and that's the whole point of it, is to take away the trigger so that I can look at information. I can look at my ex-spouse and not be triggered, right? Because the facts and the emotion are together, all entangled. But if I can find ways with coaching to take away the enmeshment and release the emotion, so that the facts are there, like I'm reading a textbook, like I'm reading a history book, like October 10th, 2009, I got divorced. And there's no stomach turn. There's no like headache. There's no, what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, absolutely. So what strategies, and because this is all just so fascinating to me, and again, this is exactly why I should have worked with somebody like you through my own divorce. And I'm a big fan of acupuncture. Acupuncture is one of the most amazing things ever. If you can get around the whole needling part of it, it is life changing, right? So a lot of the people we work with have, not only are they going through a divorce, they're people like me. I went through it. In 2017, I started my divorce, and I've got 3 kids at home. I've got a demanding job. I'm traveling a lot for work. We've got the divorce going on. That's all kinds of ugliness going on there. How do we balance all this stuff? Like, on a daily basis, what are the strategies we can use to just get through it?
You have to put yourself first. And that is going to go against everything in your mind that you possibly, because you're thinking about your kids, you're trying to manage everything. But I will tell you, self-care, you cannot give what you don't have. You just can't. You can't give it to your kids. You can't give it to your job. You can't take care of other people. You have to put yourself first. If you're going through a divorce, like, you have to be okay. And so it doesn't matter what is going on. You have to find ways to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're going to get through that divorce and you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to gain 50 pounds. Like, there's your health. You could do permanent damage to your health, and it could take a really long time to get over. Like, when we talk about healing and recovering from divorce, like, your physical body, if you don't take care of it during this time, it's going to keep going on because life doesn't get easier. So if you can make a decision, I think some of this depression or this failure I was talking about for me, because there's so much, like, society has given us this expectation of marriage as a lifelong commitment. And that can amplify these feelings of inadequacy and failure. And so I don't deserve to take care of myself. And what about I don't have any money? How can I get a massage if my neck's all tweaked, or go to the doctor? I don't even know if I have health insurance. It's like there's all these financial, you're get a freaking loan. I am not kidding. Your health, if you do and I hope I'm not taking away from what you're going to say about money, but if you don't put your health first, you won't enjoy the money later, even if you have it. Like, I remember my coach telling me this. Like, I went from, it's kind of weird how it happened, but like, I went from, my husband like slapping me on the butt to we don't live together within a week. So I went from like being used to being touched to nada. And I was like, I need to be touched. And I was talking to my coach and I was saying, like, I feel like I want to get massages and I don't have the money to keep dishing out massages. And she's like, if you don't pay for it now, you're going to pay for it later.
100%.
And I just always remembered that. And I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to pay for, and I'm going to keep paying for a coach. I'm going to keep paying for massages. I am going to take really good care of myself because, like I said, I just remember her saying, if you don't pay for it now, you'll pay for it later. And I believed her. I really did.
Absolutely.
And now that it's been 10 years, I do not regret spending that money.
No, I mean, I talk about it all the time, and it's the same, even in my own my traditional financial planning practice. You have to put yourself first. When people come to us and because I do traditional retirement planning and investment management, that type of wealth management, so to speak, with one of my companies, and then we do the divorce planning, financial planning work under another. And when we have a traditional engagement where people are coming, or they've finalized their divorce and now they need help with their own retirement, now our job is to figure out what are you going to do moving forward. And the first thing you need to do is start setting goals for yourself and figuring out what that's going to look like and so on, because most of these people are, and it's just human nature, I think, where they're like, well, I've got to take care of the kids and I've got to, make sure they can go to college and all this other stuff. It's like, it's great. You can put little Johnny and little Susie through college, no problem. But if you're sleeping on their couch at the age of 85 because you didn't plan accordingly and you didn't put yourself first, who wins? It's going to be a problem. Let them take student loans. And then you can go, enjoy your life and live the life that you want. So I'm all about prioritizing, team me, so to speak, in some of these scenarios. So
and there's going to be people on here listening thinking that is selfish. And I'm just saying that if you can't give what you don't have. And so we think that if we put our kids first, that, we're being selfless, but it doesn't work that way. If you think you love your kids more than yourself, you're wrong. You can only give what you have, meaning the way I care about myself is a reflection of how I care about other people. And so that's why it doesn't matter what someone's going through. We always take a look at just for today, what is one goal or one thing that I can do for myself that's doable and sustainable that I can practice? Because some of us don't know how to do that, don't know how to put ourselves first. And it could be from all these emotions and these lies and these triggers that stop us from being loving to ourselves, because we need someone to blame. So if I can't blame them, then I start blaming me. And that's how we get into this like self-defeating behavior. And I'm glad that you mentioned the goals, because we all need goals that gives our brain a direction. So when I think about EFT is just one little tool, but I need to actually give my brain a direction, like a GPS of like, well, where am I heading? I'm getting a divorce. So what does it look like in the next year, the next 5 years? My brain needs to know a direction. Otherwise, what the default is negativity. The default is procrastination. The default is I feel sorry for myself. Unfortunately, that's it. That's what it is. If you're depressed, like it's because your brain doesn't know what you want. So it just kind of is like being wishy-washy doesn't work. You have to train your brain and give it direction of where you want it to go. Otherwise, it's literally going to go in circles because it doesn't know what you want. Yeah. So self-care is my first thing. Doing it with somebody else, whether you get a coach or a therapist or someone you can trust that you can like really be yourself. Like I would not recommend doing it alone. Like there's no need to. And then the goal, the direction, because I need to train my brain where I want it to go. Otherwise, the default is it's not a straight line. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. One of the first things we do with all of our clients, and I think you'll appreciate this, is we go through a goal setting exercise. Once people start sending us all their financial information, one of the documents we ask them to go literally sit down and fill out, handwrite preferably, so they can make that connection as they're sitting there writing down these notes. But it's a my priorities. We call it a my priorities worksheet. And it sounds like one of those things that you do in third grade, like when I grow up, I want to be, but it's an opportunity for you to just sit there and say, okay, I understand here are the goals that I have for my financial life, for my kids, for some of my possessions. This is what I want day one of my newfound single life to look like. And this is where I want to go. I also have them write down the goals that they think their soon-to-be ex-spouse has in those categories. And it's an opportunity for them to sit and go, okay, well, hey, I want this particular thing. Melanie may want that other thing. And it starts to get put the wheels in motion on negotiations and figuring out how we can get this thing over the finish line and come to an agreement where there's never a win-win, right? You want to know this, and everybody listening, there's never a win-win in divorce. Our job is to help people lose less. So if we can help them understand what the other side is thinking, it's kind of like a game of chess. Then as they're going through this process, it helps them not only stay focused on the long term because they know, okay, like this is where I'm headed, this is where I'm going, these are the things I'm gonna need to think about, but also what the other side is thinking. And hopefully it'll make it a little more amicable. Or it helps us as professionals with the strategy. Like, hey, don't forget, Susie, that you told Tom that, you want this thing. Why don't we, if that's really a hard line in the sand, you want that thing, what are we going to give up on the other side to make sure you get that thing? Right. So I'm a big fan of goal setting. We use the SMART goal setting framework for a lot of the work that we do in our traditional financial planning work. It's huge. And I do it every year for myself, for my own business planning purposes. You can use it for in any capacity, I think. So I love that. We're talking a little, we kind of segue naturally a little bit into the financial world. You deal with this a lot on your side, the stress and the concern over finances and all the stuff, right? You have carte blanche to talk about anything you want financially related in this brief segment here. So what's on your mind? What can you share with our listeners about handling the financial aspects of things and some of the tips and tricks you can share there?
Well, one thing I was thinking is let professionals be professionals. Because I hired, when I was going through my divorce, I hired an attorney and I already had an accountant. And actually the therapy that I had been doing leading up to that, we talked a lot about what it was going to look like if I got divorced. And it was going to be a big financial change. And I just remember needing to let go of what I thought it was supposed to look like. I had never gone through a divorce. And so if you have hired a professional, let them be the professional that they're giving you that service for. Like I really let my attorney be my attorney. I did not, he was doing the negotiations for me. I was so stressed out that it was like, I don't know about divorce. And so many people are giving you advice, but are they professionals? Are they attorneys? Have they been in a court winning a case for you about this or that? So many people gave me opinions that they were not professional opinions. And so people will give you opinions about money. People will give you opinions about what's fair. It's not a professional opinion. And so I wouldn't ask for it. And even if people are giving it, I would try to steer the conversation away and I mean, I can't tell you how many times people were like, "Are you sure that's right?" I'm like, I have professional help here. Like, but it wasn't fair, right? Like, I hate that my mom used to say that when I was a kid. Well, I would say, "That's not fair." And she would say, "Life's not fair." And I just like, there's
And it
still
really
a little
isn't. Yeah.
trigger there for me. Like, I don't like when people say that. But the thing is, when you're getting a feeling around life not being fair, the feelings are signals. And, I wrote a book way after, my divorce about 3 years ago. I wrote a book and I talk a lot about how to deal with my feelings. It's, happy, joyous, and free. Love your life no matter what. No matter it appears that it looks like you're losing all your money. It appears that you're going to be alone forever. It appears men are jerks. It appears, like in our mind, we come up with these thoughts, right? And they're triggers. And so the kind of advice that I would give you is that honor your feelings because they're signals. They need something. That anger needs something. That loneliness needs something. That bitterness needs something. And it is worth listening to because it ain't going away. It's not going to just somehow go away. And we will find things to try to push it down. Like, okay, I'm just going to work more. I'm going to drink. I'm going to ignore it. It's like, it will be waiting for when you're ready. So just know that it'll be waiting for you when you're ready. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're going through this and you're worried about finances, I would don't do it by yourself. Like there are so many people out there that are professionals. They have the experience. When I was able to let go and let my attorney be my attorney and stop trying to figure out, like, I think that's another thing too. The people that you're paying, you want to be able to trust and trust their experience, trust their expertise, trust that they know more than me. This is my first time going through divorce. So am I going to let this attorney who's done hundreds and hundreds of divorces, do I think I know more than he does? Sometimes it felt like maybe I did. If I can let go, like even just telling myself, can you set aside what you think you know so you can have a new experience with someone who studied this for a living? It's just like if I'm a hairdresser, I don't know how to cut hair. Like, why would I try to cut my hair? Every time I have tried to color my hair or cut my hair, it has turned out badly, very badly. And then I have to pay double for someone to fix it. So, and you know what? I've tried it more than once. I have tried to cut my own hair. I have tried to color my hair more than once. And every time it did not turn out right. And so I'm just going to tell you that if you can let the professionals, let the people that know money, that know divorce, that know the law, then you don't have to stay up at night thinking about it. Take the time to really go with someone that you can talk to, that you feel like you can trust, and then trust them. Let them do that. That will take off so much from your plate. You just don't have to worry about it. You can just let it go. And then you'll have more time to take care of you. That's some good advice right there.
I think it's so much good advice. And that's the thing that we see all the time. Your example of cutting your hair or coloring your hair is a perfect example of what I see in my line of work all the time. We see attorneys that try to create financial affidavits, or they try to gather, they're looking through client account statements, or trying to value a pension or understand stock options. I'm sure there are attorneys out there that are listening. I respect all the work that they do. One of my best friends is a family law attorney. He's an amazing man, amazing at what he does. And I work with a lot of attorneys in the work that I do, but you've got to stay in your lane. And I'm never going to try to draft interrogatories or draft a marital settlement agreement. It's just not what I do. It would take me twice as long to do it. And it would probably be done incorrectly, just like the coloring of the hair or the cutting of the hair situation. So why not have the attorney do it, because they're most effective and efficient at doing it, and then have the financial person like myself and members of our team and other CDFAs that are out there. Luckily, we work in all 50 states now because we are 100% virtual, but so we can work anywhere in the country. But there are people like us out there that can do this work twice as fast, a heck of a lot less expensive than attorneys can do it, and the job is done right versus having the attorney try to fumble through and try to figure it out. In my experience, it's about 50-50. It's kind of a crapshoot, flip of the coin, whether they're going to get it right or not. I've had situations where they go through the exercise of reviewing the financial documents that we prepared, spent time and spent client money preparing these affidavits for them, and then they go redo it, and then it gets done incorrectly anyway. So if you're an attorney listening, don't be that person. Right. And if you're somebody out there that needs this help, there are people like, us out there that can support you through, as part of Team U to help you through this process. So this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for it. We went longer than I thought we were going to go, but this is like awesome stuff. Melanie, where can people find you if they want some support from you?
Sure. happyjoyceandfree.org is my website. Anyone who's listening can get a free consultation. I can solve problems. That's what I love to do, especially relationship problems. That is like my favorite. And, my goal is really to keep people married. But, as far as divorce goes, I can see both sides of it. I've been on both sides of that coin of paying alimony and child support, both roles, as far as like the traditional male female roles. I've been on both sides. And so I feel like from my own experience, I'm really able to give my clients, a neutral way to pull apart like the facts from the triggers and to be able to move forward and just like tangible results. We don't want to be bitter after divorce. We want to move forward. And I am happy to report that I am remarried, coming up on 5 years. And you know what? Sometimes we just don't pick the most compatible person. And it is easier if you find someone that's actually more like you and more compatible. Because I never thought a relationship could be easy. And I just want to give some hope out there that when you do the work, you don't have to stay bitter and you don't have to stay mad at the opposite sex. You can heal and you can start over and you can have a better relationship. And I use my first marriage as a foundation for how much I have grown and learned how to negotiate in marriage. And that's really what it is. And I think that's what life is. And so even if you don't want to get married, we all have relationships and we all have to learn how to deal with our own stuff so that we can, deal with other people's stuff, because that's not going anywhere. Everybody's got their little backpacks full of stuff.
Love stuff. Well, again, it was awesome. So much great information. We're going to have so many nuggets of information to be able to pull out and throw up on social media over the course of the next few weeks. Stay tuned for this episode. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. I know this was an amazing conversation to hear. All of your contact information, Melanie, is going to be in the show notes. So if you're driving, if you're listening to this where you're not in a place where you can jot down her information, don't worry. It'll be in the show notes for you to get links to her website and check out her book and all the good stuff. So thank you again for listeners for joining us again today. I'm Jamie Lima with Allegiant Divorce Solutions. You can reach out to me on our website as well, which is allegiantds.com. There's a link on the page there. So don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, do all the good stuff on social media so we can continue to grow our fan base here. And I look forward to another episode here and with you all very, very soon.